G'day Year 11 and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're going to be taking a look at management and change, which is the fourth subtopic and the last subtopic of business management. And we're looking in particular at the syllabus dot point, responding to internal and external influences. So those things that a business has great control over in terms of internal influences, and responding to how they can address things a business has little to no control over, external influences. All right, internal influences. What are we looking at for those? Internal influences include the product the business makes. It has great control over that because they make the product. The location, where they choose to locate the business. The resources and how they're used. A business has a big impact and influence, can respond to the resources and the way they use them. Management and business culture are also internal influences. Some examples of external influences that a business have include economic, the economic upturn and downturn of the economy. There's financial influence, a business's ability to gain access to funds at reasonable and affordable interest rates. Geographic influences, social influences, legal influences, political, institutional, technological, competitive situation, and markets. These are all external influences. And this particular YouTube clip is about how a business chooses to respond to these influences. In order for a business to effectively manage change, the business needs to be able to best respond to each of these influences. Some examples of effective change management for internal influences include moving a business location if the area sees increased competition or rents, etc. And just recently I was looking at the old Facebook, and I live in the Sutherland Shire, and Miranda Fair is our Westfields. There was a business that's been there for some period of time, about 5-6 years I think, and they're shutting their doors. Why? Because they've seen that very thing, an increase in rents. The location has a lot of foot traffic, which is very good, but the rents are very high, exorbitant, very expensive at Westfields in general, especially at Miranda Fair. And because of that, they're unable to remain competitive. So they can move elsewhere to a cheaper location, and that would be a way to respond to this internal influence of location. Another way to effectively manage change and respond to an internal influence is to change a business's leadership or management style. Now, we've talked about management approaches in previous YouTube clips and lessons, and we've got inside those management approaches different leadership styles. Part of the classical scientific management approach, there is an autocratic leadership style. I'm the boss, you do what I say because I'm telling you what you do. Very autocratic in nature. Maybe workers don't respond so well to that. Maybe they would do better with a participative / democratic leadership style that you see with the behavioral management approach, where employees' views are much more taken into consideration and respected, the diversity of views. And as a result, if you move from an autocratic to a democratic leadership style, okay, then you can see that internal influence, business leadership or management style, being changed, and it could be a very successful way to respond to this internal influence. Now, a business may have low staff morale, so it might wish to move, as I was saying before, from that approach to another. Some examples of how to effectively manage change for external influences. So we've looked at a few internal, but your job is to make sure you know all the internal influences and an example of how they can respond to each of those. Then following that, you need to make sure you can remember each external influence and how successfully a manager and a business would be able to respond to each of those influences. Some examples of how effectively to manage change for external influences can include scanning the marketplace in terms of technology. They can use new technologies where appropriate in terms of reducing costs and improving the quality of the product. And that therefore would be able to deal with that technological external influence that we were mentioning beforehand. Or a business may want to become more socially aware and responsible, as this is a big external push that we've seen over the last few decades. A big move to environmental sustainability and corporate social responsibility, what we deem the triple bottom line. So a business might want to effectively respond to those needs. Woolworths and Coles, in a limited way, have done that, phasing out the use of single-use plastic bags and having those green, long-term use, environmentally sort of friendly bags. They're responding to that external influence. If a business responds to this change, then it might increase its goodwill and hopefully for them result in increased sales and profitability. All right, guys, thanks again and see you next lesson. Goodbye.